We're about to watch a video that has been scrubbed from the internet. You cannot find it on YouTube. But the people at this website, Humorous Mathematics, I don't agree with everything they say. And another person who I'll quote in this video, a Twitter X user named NotOpQ. I don't believe everything or agree with everything they say, but they've introduced me to a lot of interesting evidence of something we're going to talk about in this video, that body doubles have been running this country while people, very naughty people who did some very bad things involving children, involving usurping government processes, even because they didn't like President Trump or whatever. We've been watching body doubles play liberal politicians and celebrities that we used to know, the real people. And there's a whole big story about this, but let's just look at some proof. This is Joe Biden after a apparently, after a protest at a campaign rally for Gavin Newsom. This is a real event that happened. Let's see, some protesters in Long Beach, California, which is not a liberal area by any means, caught up to President Joe Biden. Here's what happened. Did you guys see that? Did that video look altered or fake? Do you think that woman who filmed this, that was protesting at September 13th, 2021 in Long Beach, do you think she was part of a global conspiracy theory to lie to you? Who is this person impersonating the president? Isn't that a serious crime? It's a very serious crime to impersonate the president. If that's not a person impersonating the president, then if those police officers were assigned Secret Service duty, then I'm pretty sure they committed numerous felonies and treasons by walking away from President Joe Biden while an angry mob of protesters was coming after him. These police officers just derelicted their duty and walked away from the President of the United States, who was not surrounded by any Secret Service at all. And you can see that because we're going to watch it again. She said, "That's the one you see on CNN. Where's the real Joe?" And another person is heard saying, "The cops don't even want you." What's going on? Pretty soon, the entire world is going to be seeing videos like this. That video you just saw. And that is part of a process, a government operation called the Great Awakening. You're about to hear, everyone is about to hear, in court documents, that body doubles have been running this show for a bit. And in fact, you're going to see the biggest, one of those court documents was recently January 19th, 2024. Last week, a court document, and that is going to be admitted in the evidence during the trial being judged by the Honorable Judge Cannon. lawyers, attorneys of Donald Trump filed serious motions saying that he had Department of Energy Q clearance as recently as June of 2023. You're going to see that. That's a fact. That's going to scare people when they figure this out. It's going to scare people when they realize Joe Biden's been a body double wearing a mask. You can't explain that video. You want to try again? You want to try again? You want to try to explain that video again? How the president, a man impersonating the president, is walking around with some police officers with an escort, and the police officers just dip off as an angry mob of protesters come after him. The protesters say, "You're a body double. That's the one we see on CNN. Where's the real Joe Biden?" He puts his hands up. This is a real event. It happened. It's going to freak people out. They're going to be deer in headlights. You know what you can do with a deer in headlights? When you petrify them, you can run them over. Body doubles, The Great Awakening, Q Occult, and Epstein's Island Explained. Exhibit files. Warning. This is for parody and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this video is to be taken as fact. That's because I can't possibly know all the facts. And we legally do not know all the facts until an executive order is not renewed. That's been around since April of 2015. We'll get into that. This parody will examine what is technically now an alternate history, although it may not no longer be, where liberal alarmists like Seth Meyers and Bill Maher, who warned Donald Trump would abuse executive power to stay in office even if he lost, by acting like a Russian or North Korean dictator. So this whole video right now is to examine an alternate history where Bill Maher and Seth Meyers were right in 2017, 2018, and 2019. That Donald Trump was acting like a dictator, he would abuse his powers, and hundreds of times said by Bill Maher, he would not leave office. He wouldn't leave office. He said in this video, Trump wouldn't leave office unless, even if people were at the door with guns. That's what he says. So this is going to examine what is currently an alternate history. They were right. They were right. What I'm telling you, you're going to figure out very soon, that's not alternate history. The world's going to figure out soon. That wasn't alternate history. It's going to freak people out. It's going to petrify them. And they're going to be in this petrified state like a person who is about to fall asleep under the spell of a hypnotist. So I am someone who sees you as my dear friend, and you're about to be put under the spell of a hypnotist. I see that happening. And I'm asking questions around, and I'm finding out you didn't really agree to be hypnotized. You don't really want to be hypnotized. You don't really want to be up on that stage with that hypnotist at all. And I can see this hypnotist is about to put you asleep, a deep slumber. And he's going to be able to tell you anything. Once they say those magic words. And I feel like I'm your friend on the stage. And I'm figuring out you didn't really agree to be up there. You thought this was all kind of fun. You thought no. I'm an expert in magic. I'm saying this is real. I'm saying that hypnotist is good. He's legit. He's legit. And I'm realizing you don't really know what you've gotten yourself into. And this video is not going to reach everybody. But I see my friend. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they look like. I don't know if they got kids. I don't know. I don't know what they believed in 2020, 2021. I don't know who they voted for. But I see people. They're on stage right now. and they think magic ain't real. But that's a good hypnotist up there. That hypnotist, he's gotten away with a lot. He's gotten away with pulling the wool over the eyes of liberals who said exactly what he was going to do. They were correct. Donald Trump ain't going to leave office even if he wins. He's going to act like a dictator. We need to take this phenomenon of Trump-loving dictators seriously. You know? I ain't got nothing to gain from this. I really don't. I already know what I want to do for all 2024. You know, I've looked at the wave counts. I want to get into these funds. I want to bulk up this position. For me personally, obviously this is not investment advice at all in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not a CFA, Certified Financial Advisor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate my funds and my dividends into these funds in between intervals with the Yield Max ETFs that I'm bullish the underlying, only the ones that I'm bullish the underlying, as well as the competitor of Yield Max that I made a new video about, the ones who make TSLP, NFLP, one for Amazon and Google as well. I'm also going to be looking into using those ETFs in conjunction with the Yield Max ETFs. But besides that, my plan, for me personally, for 2024 is to concentrate into these funds. You know, I'll be a little more equity biased and buying things like FEPI and SRHR when those are the things that are down and the VIX spikes. You know, if bonds fall, you know, and it's not correlated with assets, and we have some defensive thing, bonds stay down, I'll keep pushing the rising interest rate cycle, collect all the debt. You know, it was hard not to make this video. That's what I'm trying to say with this slide. My favorite song, one of them, is Take the Money and Run by Steve Miller Band. If I was a sane, you know, person, if I was a logical person, if I had like that one aspect of me that, you know, keeps me from being a completely black-hearted pirate, I wouldn't have made this video. But I need you guys to know something. I need y'all to know something. So I need you guys to know why I really made this video. I'm going to tell you right now. The reason I made this video is because Ellen DeGeneres is wearing an ankle monitor in these pictures. You need to know that. She wants you to know that. Ellen DeGeneres is wearing an ankle monitor. This is in 2020. She is one of many liberal celebrities that is telling you to stay home and wear a mask. Wear a mask. Stay home, wear a mask. And eventually she's going to tell you to get injections broadly. She's going to tell the entire world to get injections that could be dangerous. So she is going to promote lethal injections. She is going to promote staying at home. And she is going to promote that liberals especially, it's going to be normal for them to cover their face and stay at home. Why? Her and all her liberal friends, when they're telling you to listen to the smart people, when they're telling you to listen to the smart people, in March, April, May, June of 2020, you need to know every single one of them was not referring to a virologist. They were not referring to a vaccinologist, and they were not referring to a doctor of any kind. When liberal celebrities and liberal politicians told you they wanted to normalize wearing masks and staying at home and getting injections broadly that might be lethal and listening to smart people, they were not talking about doctors. They were not talking about people who cared about saving grandma. The smart people who they were referring to were the government office of sex offender sentencing, monitoring, apprehensionship, reporting, and tracking. That is why I'm making this video. Because I know you may have or you yourself suffered severely in 2020 and 2021 because of lockdowns, because of government mandates, because of a broad narrative, and it was a lie. You thought you were saving grandma. You were lied to. You were lied to. These people knew it. You need to know that. I saw those kids. That's what I thought about. This is the story. I kept playing. This is the story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue. This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? I kept thinking about those young kids who I saw walking in the heat with a mask on their face, afraid to look at their friends, covering their face. I thought about them. The story of Billy Joe and Bobby Sue, it didn't have that. Billy Joe and Bobby Sue, every time they drove home from work, didn't see kids wearing masks, breathing in inorganic compounds, being emotionally traumatized, and eventually getting jabs that are known to be extremely harmful. The story of Billy Joe and Bobby Sue didn't have that. It didn't. You guys need to know this. They knew who the smart people were. They weren't talking about doctors. I want you to know that. And they know that. The smart people, every single time you heard a liberal celebrity or a liberal politician, the smart people were not doctors. They were people who were sentencing pedophiles for consuming adrenochrome and sex trafficking, and for politicians as well, treason. The smart people who you were being told to listen to were the Office of Sentencing, Sex Offender Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehensionship, Reporting, and Tracking. That is why she is wearing an ankle monitor. She is being tracked forever. She will never be able to take that off. Ever. Unless her case ends. Last night, I was watching a Netflix documentary called The 2010s. I enjoyed it. Season 1, Episode 4, Trump the Disruptor. Very good summary of his presidency. For the purposes of this video, at least. It's from a liberal perspective. I need liberals to watch that. Because you need to remember 2017, 2018, and 2019, what you were saying. What Seth Meyers was saying. What Bill Maher was saying. What Keith Olbermann were saying. What all of these liberal alarmists, they weren't alarmists. You were right. Okay? Netflix documentary produced by Tom Hanks about Trump presidency ends with impeachment for Zelensky bribe to investigate Hunter Biden. Wait a minute, that's crazy, right? Because now the government, what's the government criticized for? What's the biggest thing most people criticize the government for today? It is that the Biden administration has given tons of money to Ukraine. That the Biden administration has done that. Well, Donald Trump's presidency ended with an impeachment that the House convicted him for, actually, of bribing the hell and making a quid pro quo for Volodymyr Zelensky. So what the hell's going on here? Well, fast forward to 2024, last I checked, Volodymyr Zelensky has gotten a crap ton of money from the U.S. government. And Donald John Trump has gotten his wish that Hunter Biden's laptop has been excruciatingly investigated. What's going on here? 2019, this documentary ends with Trump being impeached for bribing Zelensky to investigate Hunter Biden. Now Hunter Biden is being investigated, and the biggest scandal in America is that we give too much money to Volodymyr Zelensky. Wait a minute. Isn't that exactly what the House said was happening? Isn't that exactly what the House impeached him for? Every single Democrat voted and said that Donald Trump was doing that. Mitt Romney, a Republican, even voted and said Donald Trump was doing that. He was offering a quid pro quo with Volodymyr Zelensky to get a crap ton of money from the U.S. government in exchange for the investigation of Donald Trump, of Hunter Biden. And now Hunter Biden's being investigated very seriously. And Zelensky's swimming in cash. Okay? So you may have no clue what's going on here. You may, but what in the hell? Like you may. Man, I know there's some. I don't blame you. I know there's some people looking around like, what is this guy even arguing? Who is he talking to? Who is he addressing? Okay, so there are people who look into this on the right and the left. And so, for the purposes of this slide, you guys know how I am. I'm going to say I am not expressing the opinions of either of these people. What I am doing for journalistic purposes, I am giving an example of what this type of conversation has looked like between the so-called right and left. I'm not saying either of these people are members of the right or left. I am not expressing their opinions at all. I am going to read what they said on a public website. Julie Kelly, too, said, also to emphasize, on November 1st, 2023, also to emphasize, Trump's lawyers told Judge Cannon they discovered a June 2023 letter asking the Department of Energy, DOE, to remove Trump's active security clearance. A few weeks after Smith handed down classified documents indictment. The response to this, I'm just going to read this response. It seems to me that for a so-called educated, let me try that again. His response to this, which was that Trump's lawyers told Judge Cannon they discovered a June 2023 letter asking DOE to remove Trump's active security clearance a few weeks later after Smith handed down classified documents indictment. So I'm going to take 1 second to editorialize. This is not their opinion. This is generally when people are saying Trump has Q clearance or that he's secretly been in power, or they use the term white hat. They are typically representing what is referred to as the right. I do not want to speak for this person at all, either of these people. The response, in my opinion, is typically what you'd see on the left. Gene Trevino, it seems to me that for a so-called journalist, Julie Kelly, too, would be better informed or educated. A recent Congressional Research Service report states security clearances are not mandated for the president, vice president, members of Congress, Supreme Court justices, or other constitutional officers. The criteria for election or appointment to these positions are specified in the U.S. Constitution and accept no constitutional amendment. No additional criteria, e.g. holding a security clearance, may be required. Section 2, under 31 CFR 2.2 CIC, a former president or vice president is only authorized access to classified information that was prepared by Treasury while that individual was serving as president or vice president. That's really the most important thing, in my opinion. The biggest argument to this for years, this debate's been going on for years. The biggest argument to this for years is, in my opinion, what he says in number 2. Under 31 CFR 2.2, A former president or vice president is only authorized access to classified information that was prepared by Treasury while that individual was serving as president or vice president. What I'm going to show you, and what you can look in and verify for yourself, is that we have gotten new evidence on January 19th, 2024, after both of these posts, that Donald Trump did have Q clearance. Q clearance. As recently as June 2023 with the Department of Energy. You can read the rest of what he said. I'll just do it right now. Number 3, security policy is born out of executive orders, which means that clearance eligibility is the purview of the current sitting president. So this guy lives in a world where Donald Trump can't possibly still be current president, right? So if he can't possibly still be current president, then he can't access any information that is classified while he's not serving, right? He's not serving anymore. So if he's not president anymore, then there's no way he can be authorized access to classified information that was prepared by Treasury while that president or vice president wasn't in office. He's not allowed. That was a double negative on my part. What this guy is saying, in my interpretation, there's no way Donald Trump could have had Q clearance last year. Why? Because Donald Trump wasn't president. Pretty cut and dry. So what's he saying? Well, under 31 CFR 2.2, a former president or vice president is only authorized to access classified information that was prepared by Treasury while that individual was president. Therefore, and this, I added this, therefore, and I'm going to journalize right now, editorialize. Therefore, if he is only authorized to access classified information prepared while they were president, then that means clearance eligibility is under the purview of the current president. So he's saying, to editorialize, there's no way Donald Trump could have access to classified documents prepared by the Treasury while he wasn't president because he is not president. It's a pretty cut and dry argument. If the president wants to grant someone eligibility, that's his or her right. Doesn't really make sense that Joe Biden would give Donald Trump these rights. You know, they apparently hate each other, so why would Joe Biden give Donald Trump all these Q clearance privileges? If the president wants to grant someone eligibility, that's his or her right. It is common for outgoing presidents and officials to be read in on issues and topics where their prior position and expertise are useful. This is the discretion of the current sitting president. So Joe Biden may have decided he thought Donald Trump was so important. President Joe Biden, the one we know, who's been a politician since the 1970s, not a body double, he decided that Donald Trump was so important. He decided that Donald Trump was so important that he has to be let in on and have Q clearance. That's the only way Donald Trump could have gotten Q clearance, is if the real Joe Biden chose to give it to him. That's, how I am interpreting the argument this person is making. To summarize, that means that any access to classified information a former president or government official obtains has to be granted. They can't just walk into the CIA and say, brief me. In other words, the letter Julie Kelly talks about comes at the discretion of President Biden. Donald Trump is not automatically granted access to this information. It doesn't matter that he is the former president. Just to summarize, my interpretation of an argument people are making on the internet that I have never met, I'm not expressing their opinions. The argument is, hey, the right is saying Why do all these court documents say Trump has Q clearance? And the left is saying, you're a MAGA idiot. Trump doesn't have Q clearance. He can't have Q clearance for anything while he wasn't president unless Joe Biden grants it to him. So that means you're an idiot unless you live in some alternate reality where Donald Trump is still president. Wouldn't you know? January 19th, 2024, interesting anniversary of one of Donald Trump's other executive orders, January 19th, 2021. Go read that. Read it and weep. On Tuesday, the post-millennial, I'm pretty sure they're libs, pretty sure that's the left. The post-millennial said on Tuesday, former President Donald J. Trump's lawyers filed a motion to compel discovery in the classified documents Mar-a-Lago case. Trump's legal team argued that the former Republican president acted in good faith and non-criminal states of mind when he took the classified documents from the White House and transported them to his Mar-a-Lago residence in West Palm Beach, Florida, according to court documents. Additionally, Trump's lawyers claim in the filing that a government document from June 2023 reveals that Donald Trump had a Q clearance from the Department of Energy, which indicates he maintained an active security clearance years after he left the White House. This guy just said that's not possible. That is not possible. Donald Trump cannot have an active security clearance for years after he has left the White House because he is no longer president. So that means Joe Biden would have to choose to give that clearance to Donald Trump, which by all truth that we know as Americans would never happen because Joe Biden despises Donald Trump, thinks he's the worst thing to ever happen to America, and would never give him Q clearance for anything, let alone what the Department of Energy Q clearance is for, which are the nuclear secrets. Yeah, the DOE keeps all the nuclear secrets. And so Joe Biden apparently gave Donald Trump access to those because he was such an important former president? He was such an important former president? That doesn't really make sense. I guess we got to ask Joe Biden, hey, why did you give Donald Trump Q clearance for the Department of Energy until June of 2023? American law says that he couldn't have had that clearance unless he was, one, still president, or two, you gave it to him. Why'd you give it to him? I thought you hated Trump. Let's look at it right now. Donald Trump's lawyers, once again, claim in the filing that a government document from June 2023 reveals that Donald Trump had a Q clearance from the Department of Energy, which indicates he maintained an active security clearance years after he left the White House. This was last week. Were you talking about this? You were talking about Taylor Swift. You were talking about Jean Carroll. What? Fam, it is now a fact. Donald Trump had government Q clearance with the Department of Energy and had an active security clearance years after he left the White House. What? That's been what these crazy Q people have been saying. That's just been proven. That's just been proven. So if you were still operating under the basis that Donald Trump could not have had Q clearance for years, and this is all ridiculous crap, you've been proven wrong. You were incorrect. You were operating under false information. You were wrong. Government documents say you were wrong. And unless Judge Cannon says that this evidence is not admissible in court and demands that these lawyers be disbarred, the facts are that Donald Trump had Q clearance with the government in the Department of Energy for years after he left the White House, which is higher than top secret clearance. At a November court hearing in Florida, Trump attorney Todd Blanche made his initial public mention of the Q clearance. He stated that he had obtained information that Trump continued to have an active Q clearance at that time. According to the Washington Post, the outlet stated that a Q clearance refers to a type of security clearance handled by the agency whose classified information largely focuses on nuclear secrets. Claim 2. Liberals believe in 2019 Donald Trump was impeached for bribing Ukraine President Zelensky with aid to investigate Hunter Biden. And after a cold civil war, which the Netflix documentary says began in 2020, right after Trump's impeachment over this, a cold civil war began. That's how this document concludes. I got their quote. Go watch this, produced by Tom Hanks. A cold civil war started, and that's the conclusion to Trump the Disruptor. Episode 4 of season 1 of the 2010s, produced by Tom Hanks, that Trump's platform was to keep power, and that a cold civil war started after that impeachment thing. What was that all about? Well, apparently Trump was impeached for bribing Ukraine President Zelensky with aid to investigate Hunter Biden. Well, what happened? It happened. He was facing allegations he tried to strong arm a foreign leader into launching an investigation that might hurt Joe Biden. Well, what we say here? Democrats in the House of Representatives launched an impeachment inquiry in September after a transcript of a July call showed that Trump asked Zelensky to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter. They argued that this was an abuse of power in the form of a quid pro quo, and a charge Trump staunchly denied. Well, guess what? Now it's 2024, and the biggest story for the past 2 years has been that the United States government has given a crap ton of money to Ukraine and President Zelensky specifically. And he's also done what Seth Meyers and Keith Olbermann and Bill Maher always said. He's cowered to President Putin. Both of those things have happened. He's let President Putin do whatever he wants. He's not being tough with him at all, which was a huge point the Democrats always made. And now Zelensky is being given a crap ton of money from America, and Hunter Biden is being investigated. What part of this didn't happen? Trump has Q clearance and has had Q clearance since June of 2023, which he could only get if he was either A, currently still president, or B, Joe Biden, not the body double, just chose to give him Q clearance. What? Donald, look at this. Look at these masks. That's Joe Biden, stationary, regular, standing up, right? That's what his neck looks like when he's stationary and regular and standing up. You don't see giant lines. You don't see giant marks. He scratches his mask, right? He scratches his mask, and then what? He moves his finger, right? So you see these little ripples while he's got his finger there. So you say, okay, well, that's his finger causing a ripple, pup. Well, yeah, but guess what? He moved his finger. And guess what? This is him stationary. This is what he normally looks like. But then after he scratches his mask and moves his finger, now he's got kind of... What's this? This isn't skin. This is what skin is supposed to look like. Not supposed to have these giant creases. And then he touches this, and then boom, those creases are stuck there. Why? Because that's a neck-tight mask. And he pulled that mask out a little too tight, and so those lines got stuck. He did it again. In this interview, you can very clearly see he's talking. He's got his mask on, and his neck, is currently within his neck mask. Is currently within his turtleneck. And then what happens? He lifts up his mask and all of that comes out. All of it comes out. And you can clearly see his mask now completely covering this zipper, making a big old void, and you can see this big old line where this is his real neck. This is his real neck, but then his mask comes off. Okay. He touches his mat. This is his regular skin or his regular mask skin, but then he touches it and it reveals he's wearing a mask. This is what he's supposed to look like. He moves a little too much. He unadjusts his mask, and now his mask is completely covering that zipper because it's come out of his turtleneck. No one has that much flab that when they move their head up a little bit, a giant mask worth of neck will come out and completely cover their zipper. Okay, no one has that much messed up skin that they can look perfectly fine standing up normal, look like they have the most normal skin in the world. They touch it, and now boom, they've got an incision that just stays there and just stands up. That's a mask, people. He's wearing a mask. That's why you see body double videos of him. Let's look at more of this. You saw this. Officially, he came in on September 13th, 2021, but he didn't have any Secret Service. And what you're going to say is, well, the police were assigned to protect him. Well, you saw that video. The police didn't protect him. An angry mob of protesters was yelling at him, asking him questions. The police just walked away. They didn't care, seemed to act like they were protecting the president of the United States. Even if they were. You don't just have police there. They got more people around colleges at football games, college coaches at football games than they do him. The Secret Service does not ever let the president get like this. And if these two police officers really were guarding the president, they for damn well sure would have known not to just walk away. This guy was asked if he was the body double, if he wears the real Joe Biden. That's the guy we see on CNN. I think he gave us an honest answer. I don't know. I'm just playing my role. You saw that video. He's wearing a mask. Ellen DeGeneres is wearing an ankle monitor. She is telling you stay home. Why? Because she's under house arrest. That's why she's telling you to stay home. Listen to the smart people. She's talking about the Office of Sex Trafficking, Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehensionship, Reporting, and Trafficking. She's saying listen to the smart people and stay home. Why? Because she can't leave home. That's why she needs you and your kids to stay home so she doesn't look weird. And all these other liberal celebrities that are disappearing don't look weird. Look at this. Elon Musk, he just has a random line around his neck now. That's interesting. He's the guy tweeting, follow the white rabbit, which is referring to the molecular structure of adrenochrome. He's saying take the red pill, which is referring to adrenochrome itself. And Mr. Neuralink, he didn't like waiting for all those FDA regulations, it looks like. And, maybe he took some of that good adrenochrome too. There's a picture of him with Ghislaine Maxwell. And look at him, looks like he's in a mask. In 2022, he just got a big old ring around his neck. Nancy Pelosi, you can clearly see. These are her real eyes. These are her real eyes. These are her real eyes. This is a mask over her face. Real eyelids. Real eyes. Real eyelashes. Mask. Real eyelids. Mask eyelids. Real eyelids. Mask eyelids. The entire world's going to wake up to this. You're going to see this. The Energy Department is accused of, in the filing, of attempting to alter an inconvenient truth by removing Trump's name from the clearance list several weeks following his indictment. Joe Biden allegedly broke his foot. Right? All these people got ankle monitors on over a hairline fracture. I'm not so sure about that. Nancy Pelosi clearly wearing a mask. She got arrested. Big old mask. Real eyelids, mask. Real eyelid, mask. Real eyelid, mask. Real neck, mask. Real neck, mask. You can see the line. If you've ever broken any bone in your hand or foot and you think you can do so much as open a car door with that, let alone put all your weight on that, I would not wish that pain on anyone. Doesn't matter if it's a hairline fracture. You ain't walking on a broken foot a couple days after. Not an old man. Let's look at some of these. Claim 1. MAGA patriots believe military tribunals began January 1st, 2019. Executive Order 13825, pursuant to Section 5542 of the Military Justice Act of 2016, Division E, National Defense Authorization Act, fiscal year 2017, Public Law 114328. 130 Stat 2000 2967 2016, except as otherwise provided by the MGA, or this is a Donald Trump order, or this order, the MGA shall take effect on January 1st, 2019. Nothing in this is Donald Trump's executive order regarding, military tribunals. Nothing in this order shall be construed to make punishable any act done or omitted prior to January 1st, 2019. These are big charges. These are not, that was not punishable when done or omitted. Nothing in Title LX of MGA shall be construed to invalidate the prosecution of any offense committed before January 1st. All these trials are beginning January 1st, conveniently when, yes, the federal government is shut down. So all these federal employees not working, we don't notice because the government is historically longly shut down. 2019 becomes a more interesting year every time you look at it. A massive military tribunal trial began on January 1st, 2019. Nothing in Title LX. The maximum punishment for an offense committed before January 1 shall not exceed the maximum punishment in effect at the time of the commission of such offense. So in 2019, people start getting hit with charges. People start getting raided. People start getting arrested. They're liberals. They're celebrities. They're politicians. They're cutting deals. They're in military tribunals. And now what? The next year, they're all saying we got to stay home. We got to stay home. We got to wear masks. We got to cover our face. We got to get injections. We got to normalize people getting injections soon. Why are they normalize people getting injections soon? Why do they normalize liberals staying home? Because they're under house arrest. Because they traffic children. Hello? Jeffrey Epstein's island? The only thing you've ever heard about? This is where this all comes from. This was all real. They consumed adrenochrome. They trafficked children, and they got arrested for it. Military trials began for so many people and so many celebrities, so many politicians, they could not tell us about it in public. They had military tribunals done by the Navy at Guantanamo Bay. That is why they voted on broadcasting these Guantanamo Bay trials, and it was passed in the House. It was not passed in the Senate. Okay, so I think I'm getting pretty close to wrapping it up here. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, Trump said he's going to be president for life. Bill Maher said, I don't see him leaving under any condition, even if people are knocking on the door with guns. I don't think he'd leave even if he lost an election. People think I'm crazy or an alarmist. You're not an alarmist. They said he'd act like a North Korean dictator and create a peace village by abusing the public's access to the media. He'd have his rivals assassinated or put to death. And, this guy, clear as day, wrote the law right here in front of us. A former president or vice president can't possibly have Q clearance unless they are still actively president or the current president decided they needed to be read in. So that means that Donald Trump was either read in by Joe Biden. Joe Biden said Donald Trump is so important he needs Q clearance, which is higher than the top secret clearance for the Department of Energy, which controls our nuclear weapons. So the official story right now that you're going to find yourself arguing is that Joe Biden gave Donald Trump Q clearance to access the nuclear weapons because the real Joe Biden loved Donald Trump that much and thought he was so important. He gave him Q clearance, and he's had Q clearance with the DOE since 2023. And unless Judge Cannon doesn't admit that evidence in the court, or he says that these lawyers who stated this need to be disbarred, the whole world's going to find out about that. Whole world's going to find out about this. And that's what all this clone programming was done. The general gist of all this is the huge thing in Trump's presidency was that he had weird connections to rappers. Specifically, he had weird connections to Kodak Black, who he pardoned in late 2020. He pardoned Kodak Black, who was a rapper. And he also was very close friends with Kanye West. Now, so this part is less of an evidence category. This is going to get more into the programming crowd, how Donald Trump may have used the media use stories about, Epstein's Island, which I'm sure, we're true, but using the media. It is legal for the media to lie to the American public. Okay. And, Trump knows that better than anyone. This whole kind of bit was to say maybe Trump had very interesting relationships with rappers Kanye West and Kodak Black, who are both accused of being cloned. If you don't know who these people are, I'll give you the quick skinny on Kodak Black. Basically, he was a superstar rapper. He blew up in 2016, 2017, same time as Trump. Usually rapping about, getting zooted up, big booty hoes, all that, right? Sniper gang, all that stuff, right? Well, then Hurricane Harvey happened. After Hurricane Harvey happened, and then the Astros won the World Series with Hurricane Harvey, a lot of people started to wake up to HARP and the government's, weather control program. And Kodak Black, he had a really big audience, and he was waking up very strongly in 2018 and 2019. He was sharing this on his tracks. He was no longer talking about big booty women, and getting zooted and, robbing and stuff like that. He started talking about HARP in this song, Spar, with a Dreezy that came out. He said, ain't old enough to hit the club and fill my cup with rum, but I can go die in the army, go into war for them. Ain't old enough for pot cigars to smark my bleeds, but old enough to spend my life behind bars. That's dumb. Toting magazines that got me in the articles. When I'm in Washington, D.C., I'm doing fraud and stuff. Ain't worrying about Donald Trump. Ain't worrying about seeing no monuments. These people got weather control. Where the hell you think Hurricane Harvey from? The wind ain't got no name. Where the hell you think Hurricane Harvey from? These people control the rain. These people be digging bunkers up. But they only got 2 more years of slavery to do harm to us. So one day, Kodak stopped talking about getting booted and zooted and big booty, whoever's. He started talking about hating the system. I'm old enough to go to jail for life, but, I'm not old enough to buy some cigarettes. When I'm in Washington, D.C., I'm doing fraud and stuff. Ain't worried about Donald Trump. I ain't worried about seeing no monuments. And now he's talking about Hurricane Harvey, coming from the government potentially. And this Genius post said that when Kodak said they only got 2 more years of slavery to do harm to us, he was, they mentioned Genius.com says Kodak previously approached the idea that slavery still exists nowadays, despite an official abolition with the 13th Amendment in 1865. In a June 2017 tweet, Kodak, who is known for being a spiritual person, refers to the Bible and alludes to Acts 7:6, in which God said to Abram, your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, and they will be in slavery and oppressed for 400 years. Wow. So basically, Kodak Black, 2017, 2018, he starts waking up. He's not happy about HARP and Hurricane Harvey and all this stuff. He starts waking up to the system. He got a lot of young people listening to him. A lot of young people about to start voting. And he's talking about HARP and all this stuff. Oh, no. So he goes to jail. And before he goes to jail for a long time, he releases an album, and the first, Baptized in Blood, right? Like he was sacrificed, baptized in blood. And they got a picture of a reverend putting his hands over the real Kodak Black. And you'll notice his hands are like he's got his left finger out, his right finger out, like he's making kind of a winged creature on his forehead, right? He's got his hands, he's making kind of like that UT winged creature. Kodak Black came out of jail with a very bizarre, disorienting forehead tattoo. It almost meant it looked like it was supposed to be impossible to recognize him. And indeed, many people have said he looks bizarrely different, and even his music hints at it. He has a song called I'm Kodak. I'm the real Kodak. Maybe he's the real Kodak now. He wrote a song called Identity Theft. Talked about he's doing fraud with Donald Trump. I think all of this may have been part of a psychological operation to prepare us for body doubles, right? And you say, oh, he's crazy. Why did Donald Trump pardon Kodak Black? Kodak Black was pardoned. Donald Trump handed out presidential pardons to a number of celebrities. Rapper Kodak Black was one of them. And part of the reason was he listed philanthropic efforts, but he also said Gucci Mane, Lil Pump, and Lil Yachty, said to do that. Kind of makes you, it's kind of like it's worded like they want you to question what the heck is Donald Trump doing pardoning Kodak Black. He's saying Gucci Mane, Lil Pump, and Lil Yachty told him to. Right? Another rapper also accused of being cloned is Kanye West. Also, interestingly, extremely close relationship with Donald Trump. Wow. All these rappers with relationships to Donald Trump, are also accused during the 2017 to even present era of being clones and body doubles. I believe this is a psychological operation. This is conditioning. If it's not, why might Kanye have been whacked? Well, Kodak might have been whacked for telling too many people about HAARP. Why might Kanye have been taken away? You start talking about sacrifices. Ooh, you talking about HAARP? You talk about, slavery is still illegal. They'll put you in the wacky shack. But you start talking about mama was sacrificed, they're gonna whack you for good, right? So Kanye, they didn't like this. He was saying my mama was sacrificed, and this is in 2022, by the way. He starts naming Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Michael Jordan, and Barkley, all these people who have had people sacrificed. He says, it's up. I never killed nobody. I can say whatever I want. He lists Meek Mill. He lists Puffy. He lists Boozy. He said they have to listen to, and then cuts himself off. They got legal, and then cuts himself off. I'm the P who never killed nobody. I can say whatever I want and not go to jail. Shortly after that, he said, if I ever went missing, if I ever went anywhere, we know why. So were Kanye and their clone accusations, their clone rumors, and their close relationships with Donald Trump, and Kodak, his clone rumors, his close relationship with Donald Trump, was that psychological conditioning, psychological preparation that, the people who said Donald Trump isn't going to leave office, even if he lost in a landslide. He's going to act like a dictator. He's going to have harsh trials for his political rivals, and they're all going to be wearing ankle monitors soon. Joe Biden's in an ankle monitor. Joe Biden's in an ankle monitor. Oprah's in an ankle monitor. Everyone's got ankle monitors on. Everyone's got their leg broken. Everyone broke their foot around the exact same time. They told you to wear a mask. They told you to, do all this stuff. I'm going to tell you the truth. The smart people weren't doctors. The smart people, you know who the smart people were. The smart people were the people who the Office of Sex Trafficking, Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehensionship, Reporting, and Tracking. Those were the smart people, not the virologists. That's because these people, Elon Musk, Nancy Pelosi, Ellen DeGeneres, they went to trial. They consumed adrenochrome and various other crimes. We are not going to know about any of this, until the real Joe Biden, the fake Joe Biden, whoever's in office, eliminates an executive order that Donald Trump and Barack Obama signed and renewed, and Joe Biden renewed. And we don't find out until 90 days after the termination of this executive order that allowed for various things. The Secretary of the Treasury, in consultation with the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, is hereby authorized to take actions, including promulgating rules and regulations. No more rules, no more regulations. And to employ all powers granted to the president. Let's read that again. The Secretary of the Treasury, one person. With the Attorney General, another person. With the Secretary of State, a third person. 3 people are authorized to take actions such as no more rules and regulations, such as employing all powers granted to the president. Let's read that again. 3 people, just in this one act, Secretary of Treasury, Attorney General, and Secretary of State, as of an executive order from 4/1/15, renewed by Donald Trump and renewed by Joe Biden, and revised and amended by Donald Trump the day before he allegedly left office, before 25,000 people from the National Guard from all 50 states. Why would they need the National Guard from all 50 states? Because they're transitioning to military power. They're transitioning to martial law. That's why Donald Trump has Q clearance with the Department of Energy. We've been under martial law for a long time. The Secretary of the Treasury may redelegate any of these functions to other officers and agencies of the U.S. government consistent with applicable law. All agencies of the U.S. Gov are hereby directed to take all appropriate measures within their authority to carry out the provisions of this order. Section 9. We don't ever get to see the final recurring report to Congress until Executive Order 13694. Until Executive Order 13694 is no longer renewed and we are no longer in an emergency, which is coming up April 1st, 2024. Until that is not renewed, 90 days after the termination of each such emergency of war, the president shall submit a final report on all such expenditures. When the president declares a national emergency or Congress declares war, the president shall transmit to Congress within 90 days after the end of each 6-month period. After such declaration, so after the first 6-month period, after the declaration has not ended yet. It does not end until April 1st, 2024. A report on the total expenditures incurred by the U.S. government during that 6-month period are directly attributable to the exercise of powers and authorities conferred by such declaration, not later than 90 days after the termination of each such emergency of war. That time period, that 6-month time period from April 1st, 2024 happens to align perfectly with the election. This 90-day time period happens to align perfectly with the time frame that Judge Cannon has said where he or she has to process a hard time seeing how realistically this work can be accomplished in a compressed period of time, given that Trump's court schedule in the election interference trial, which is scheduled to begin March 4th, could consume March, April, and possibly May. So as the time that Donald Trump's trial is going down, and we are going to be figuring out that Donald Trump has had Q clearance with the Department of Energy and the government since June of 2023, which he can only have if the current president, Joe Biden, gave it to him, or if Donald Trump himself is still currently president. So that is the Great Awakening. All these documents are going to be revealed. The truth of why Jill Biden was wearing that ankle monitor and why Kodak and Kanye were always associated with being cloned and close associates with Donald Trump. That was preparing you for body doubles. Donald Trump's political opponents being whacked. Elon Musk is wearing a mask. You can clearly see it. That is a hypodermic mask, a hyperflesh skin mask around his neck. That's what that line is. This is his real neck. That's his fake neck. That's a mask. These are Nancy Pelosi's, the actresses. Those are her real eyes. You can see her real eyelids. That's a mask. Eyelids, mask. Eyelids, mask. You can see it. Ellen DeGeneres wearing an ankle monitor, saying, listen, to the Office of Sex Trafficking, Sentencing, Monitoring, Apprehensionship, Reporting, and Trafficking. That's who the smart people were. They weren't doctors. They were people sentencing, monitoring, apprehending, reporting, and tracking sex traffickers. That's the real reason you were staying home. The whole world's going to know about it soon. But as always, you heard it here first on Puppy Trades.